Hello, and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Catherine Haleko, and I'm here with Terry Morrow.
Hello.
Usually on this podcast, we talk about parenting issues, but once a week, Terry and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics, because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change. Yes. So this week, we are continuing with our watch of the series Veronica Mars and the accompanying podcast, Veronica Mars Investigations.
Mm-hmm.
And we are also watching Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist. This week's episode was Zoey's Extraordinary Silence. This episode, it felt a little light on songs to me. Maybe they were just short or something. But the sign language one was awesome.
That was so spectacular.
Yeah.
That just carried me through the whole thing, man.
That was amazing.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that they didn't have any voices at all. That it was just I guess it was a cello.
Yeah, you just had to kind of know that it was fight song.
My daughter and I were watching, we were sitting there going, I know this song. What is it? I know it. And then she got to the chorus and was like,
right. It took me a couple minutes too. And then I was like, oh, perfect. Yeah.
It was so striking and so nicely done and very, very cool.
That was awesome.
And that was, they worked with Deaf West Theater for that. They are the ones who did the Spring Awakening on Broadway with the deaf performers. Mm-hmm. And the woman who played his daughter is Sandra Mae Frank, and she was fantastic. It was very fun to watch.
I really liked her. She was great.
And the most I have liked Tobin.
Yeah, right?
that character was so unpleasant at the beginning, and now they're definitely rehabilitating him. He's been getting nicer and nicer. So it's okay. So he learned sign language
to get a girl,
for gross reasons, but still, he was very cute in those scenes.
That was awesome.
And I liked that they sort of naturally built that in. And Howie was very sweet also, even though he was sort of the foil, not letting her do what she wanted to do. It was a very nice performance.
Yeah, I think he's a great character. He's a good addition to the cast.
Rather like Tobin, started weird and then has gotten more sympathetic as we've gone along. So
yeah, but I thought, when they were interviewing all the caregivers, whatever, I can't even remember anymore what he said in his interview to kind of disqualify him, but. Before that, he sounded so great. And even after that, I was like, that guy still seemed like the good one.
Yeah, he does. So what do we make of the fact that her dad seemed to sort of be in on that whole thing? That did she just hear him singing because he was thinking about how he was going through with his daughter? Or is there supposed to be a suggestion that he's sort of hooked into what's happening with her in some way?
My thought was that Howie had confided in him because he can't talk.
Right.
So that was how I interpreted it.
Yeah, but the fact that he was singing...
Mm-hmm. When Howie was singing.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what that is. But then, and so I guess then every time she looked at him and he was egging her on was just because he knows about the daughter and he wanted her to help. And maybe the singing had nothing to do with that, except just to give her a hint that her dad knew something.
Right.
But,
just to give Peter Gallagher a chance to sing a song.
Yeah. But it just seemed like there was maybe a suggestion that he has some connection to what's going on with her. Probably that's just wishful thinking, because if it's true, then maybe he's around for the next season. But I don't know. It was kind of a weird little vibe going on there, but probably I am completely misinterpreting.
Well, that would be an interesting little twist.
And another interesting little twists. Hey, Renee Elise Goldsberry, how you doing? And I see next episode, there's going to be a sing-off between her and Lauren Graham as Joan. And if I were Lauren Graham, I would stay home that day.
I would
and
be
every day.
scared. Yep. I know. It was like we got Renee Elise Goldsberry, and then she didn't sing in this episode. Yeah. I'm like, why is she here if she's not going to sing? But she will.
That was not right. She will, but, yeah, some people on this show sing better than others is all I'm going to say.
Yes.
I don't want to be mean.
I'm in
and I
agreement.
imagine that I think it's like a deliberate thing for the show in saying that these are people's innermost thoughts. It's not about being a Broadway production. It's about, sort of the raw emotion of it. And okay, but some of them can sing really good.
Yeah.
And some of them are really good actors who are very good at their parts, but less good at the singing part.
Right.
And best to keep those maybe in different numbers. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But that will be interesting to see. I look forward to hearing her sing. Expected to hear it this time. Thought there could have been a number between her and Max up in the empty 6th floor.
Yeah.
Would have liked to see those two singing at each other, but okay.
Yes.
Tease us.
Why don't you?
Fine.
Well, they've got to get us to tune in 2 weeks when they return.
I guess. Yeah. The Simon will they or won't they plot continues, and the Max being disgruntled continues. Not my favorite parts, but that song and dance at the end sort of made the whole episode of, worthwhile.
Yeah, and to me that was them breaking up, right?
Yeah, it seemed to be, except
why did you do that at the office?
Well, I think it's them both thinking they have to break up, but then they're going off to go actually do that.
Yeah, I guess.
Because she's hearing what they're thinking, not what they're actually doing.
Right.
That was very cool. But yeah, it was those two songs and then the horny sister-in-law. And that was kind of it, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and the sound of silence, and then
Oh, that's right. The sounds of silence. Memory lane, man. I asked my daughter if she'd ever heard that song before, and she said no. And it's like, let me count the times in my high school life I sang that song. Not even high school, even before that.
Yeah.
That was like the height of profundity. That song. It's so meaningful.
That's right.
We must sing it every opportunity we can. We must perform it. People must hear it. So that was a real...
Gotta love some Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah,
actually, I thought the
absolutely.
performance was good on that one.
Yes,
That was
good.
Howie and
the yes, and the duet also was very nice. I thought that was well done.
Yeah,
but very moody. And, Oh, and there was Mo singing "The Trouble with Love Is," which always makes me think of Love Actually.
Aww.
So I was happy both for the memory of Love Actually and for that really lovely rendition of it.
That was great. But definitely the fight song performed in sign language topped everything. That was really very cool.
That was the highlight, and I'm so proud of them for doing it the way they did. The show for just letting it be what it was and not feeling like you needed to explain it to the audience.
Yeah, because if you watched and paid attention, you could totally figure out what was happening. Yep. Even if you didn't know, even if you never got around to recognizing the song or you didn't know the song,
yes,
you could just tell the emotion that it was expressing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was very good. Yeah. So I like that sort of thing. Something really fresh and different rather than she's got two guys. She can't decide. They can't decide.
And also,
I feel like I've seen that show before.
And how often do people talk about their troubled sex life with their mother-in-law? Like,
yeah,
no.
Yeah. She's just very easy to talk to.
Yeah, well, she is Mary Steenburgen, so okay.
That's right.
All right. Well, we talked a little bit about this offline or, when we weren't recording, but we've been listening to a lot of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and watching a lot of clips of that show since Adam Schlesinger passed away, and it got us talking like, wow, that show is incorporating music in such a different way than this one is.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is that I have to remember is I did not actually watch that show.
Right.
And so I am seeing the hand-curated best moments of it.
True.
On YouTube. I mean, I think they said there was like 150 songs. I've seen maybe 30 of them on YouTube. So, and I'm not seeing what went on around them. So if I was watching the entire package, maybe I wouldn't feel that way. But just watching those highlights, it's hard not to think that Zoey is held back by the fact that they have to use existing songs. And therefore, they got to kind of shoehorn stuff in, and maybe it doesn't quite fit. But some of the Crazy Ex-Girlfriend stuff, the lyrics were just so great and so fresh, and were able to speak to what was going on in a way that you can't really do with an existing song. Sometimes the existing songs work really well, and sometimes they're like, did you get rights to that song and then had to make a scene to go with it? Ugh. Yeah, so I don't know that they had this conceit of it having to be a playlist, so they can't really get away from that, but it's too bad. And also I have Crazy Ex-Girlfriend songs stuck in my head. Those things are sticky.
Sure.
Walking around the house singing, "Don't be a lawyer." People are looking at me funny.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. And watching that, I think, this looks like something that could be on Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist. Is it just somebody in the middle of a conversation saying, let me illustrate this to you in song, and then dancing and doing all this stuff. But the lyrics are so fun and so perfect and so unrestrained by, existing work.
Yeah. And
that it made me sad.
Right. I think it's just so hard not to compare them because they both have this like bursting into song quality to them. And and otherwise they're extremely different.
Yes.
Two shows.
It's true.
Oh boy.
Yeah. That's it's hard for me to see how this goes on and on and on for multiple seasons. But, maybe they'll at some point something different will happen, or it'll go in a different direction.
Or the powers will transfer from her to someone else, or it'll just be the help a different person every week. It'll be like, the Unfortunates of Neptune High School on Veronica Mars, and then this will be the Unfortunates of San Francisco sing their hearts out to Zoey unknowingly, and she fixes their lives. Jumps in there and does something heroic.
And then we never see them again.
That's right. So over in Neptune, the episode of Veronica Mars that we watched was called Drinking the Kool-Aid. And the mystery of the week was about this alleged cult, which turned out to just be like these sweet hippies who liked hugs.
Yes.
And how they turned an 09er from a bro into a nice guy temporarily.
Yeah. Which end of this was the deprogramming exactly?
Right.
The part, it seems like the cult people did the world a service.
They really did. And Veronica kind of, realized that and tried to stop the investigation or whatever you want to call that this kid's parents were undertaking to basically make sure that their money did not get given to this cult.
Yes.
That's really how they were. That's really what they cared about. So,
yes. Well, the parents were squarely reprehensible, but we knew that from the beginning because money equals bad.
Right.
The cult people, it was just the cutest, cuddliest cult you could ever imagine. It was really, as they mentioned on the Veronica Mars Investigations podcast, it was really more of a commune.
Right.
I do question whether a teacher should be going up to students and say, hey, come to this groovy place where I live and live with us.
Yes.
I think that there could be perhaps some action against her.
Right.
That seems inappropriate.
It does.
Especially since apparently all you need to do to get the invite is write a poem.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you probably didn't even have to do that, but just give this lady some kind of opening and she's going to take it for sure.
Come to this place and watch me kiss this guy and let's just all sit around and read poetry and be groovy together. I think her conduct was inappropriate to a teacher.
Yes.
But the rest of them seemed harmless enough. I was disappointed because, when you watch an investigative TV show of any type, there's always going to be a point at which the thing which you thought was one way turns out in a last minute twist to be evil.
Yes.
So I was waiting for some shoe to drop with the cult, for the commune, for there to be something that was not right other than a inappropriate teacher.
Right.
But it just never came. It was just rich people evil is just too much of the framing of this show for them to even consider any other twist.
Well, and also and
could that deprogramming guy have been any more like he's imported from Lost? He would have been, that's the guy that I can't even remember what it is now, the bad guys on Lost would have had.
Right.
Stashed away. Yeah, it was, about as subtle as Abel Kuntz last week.
Yeah. Well, and as they pointed out on the podcast, there was so much stupid misdirection about the cult.
Yes.
Like, don't go in the barn. And then, there's just a horse in there, and we're growing a cash crop. Well, it's actually poinsettias. It was just kind of lazy.
Lamest misdirection ever.
Yeah. But the other thing that they pointed out that made a lot of sense, like, Keith, don't tell Veronica not to go somewhere.
Yes. Really.
Have you learned nothing?
We have known her a much shorter time than you have, and yet we know that. It was interesting. They mentioned on the podcast that the word mooncalf has very negative connotations.
Yeah.
And I thought that too. I kept saying, is that really the name of it? Am I hearing that correctly? Because I think of that as being a pejorative term. So just for fun, afterwards, after I listened to the podcast, I looked it up on Merriam-Webster online. Yeah. And it gives this, so this is Mooncalf, what was it? The name
Collective,
of the commune? Mooncalf Collective. Mooncalf is defined as a foolish or absent-minded person, simpleton. Oh. So that's what you want to call your cult, right? But then
that's not
just
as
for
bad
fun,
as what they were saying on the podcast.
Well, yes, yeah, but just for fun, Merriam-Webster also gives a number of synonyms, and I'm going to read these out.
Okay.
Burke, booby, Charlie, cuckoo, dingaling, dingbat, ding-dong, dipstick, doofus, featherhead, git, goose, halfwit, jackass, lunatic, fool, nincompoop, ninny, ninnyhammer, nit, nitwit, nut, nutcase, simp, simpleton, turkey, and yo-yo.
Wow.
So I got to think that there was a slow day in the Merriam-Webster office, and they were like, you know what we should do? Let's just think of synonyms for mooncalf.
Wow, those are excellent. And none of them are what you want to call your touchy-feely, huggy-squeezy cult.
Yes, it's like we're gonna set up this totally chill commune out here, and we want people to take us seriously. Let's call ourselves Simpleton Farms. Right. Speaking of semantics, we also have a couple of nits to pick with the Veronica Mars investigations in terms of knowledge of what I take to be in my elderly years completely common expressions.
Uh-huh.
Like the term full of beans was used, and on the podcast, the American half of the duo claimed that was not an American expression. It was only a British expression. Not true. I heard that plenty of times in my all-American childhood. Absolutely. I don't know that as I've used it myself, but
yeah,
full of beans is totally used in the U.S.
For sure.
Hello.
Yes.
And also, they were puzzled over the origin of Veronica's exclamation, "As God is my witness, I'll never take a cold shower again." Right. And they were like, why was she using that Southern accent? Is that a commonly used expression? Go watch Gone with the Wind immediately, or read a book about Gone with the Wind, or go on the IMDb page of Gone with the Wind and click on quotations from
most famous movie quotes of all time.
Exactly.
I mean, you don't have to have seen the movie to have heard this, right?
It is a common instruct. As God is my witness, I'll never blank again. Fill in with funny item of your choice.
What?
I'm very disappointed, Veronica Mars investigations people, but I will remember this when we make some nitwit exclusion in our podcast talking, and as I'm editing, I go, what were we thinking? And then I'll remember, well, the Veronica Mars investigations people didn't know a common quote from Gone with the Wind, so we're not doing so bad.
Exactly. So that was the story of the week. And then in the overarching story, it was, as I told you when you asked me before, they did address the "who's your daddy" question.
Yes, they started up right where the one before left off, which
I don't
hooray
think
for
has
that.
ever happened before. And then Veronica very awkwardly got a blood sample from Keith to send away for a DNA test.
Which, do we think that Keith was, I guess we think that Keith was fooled by that, but...
Yeah.
Speaking of times when we wish Keith had more game.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, I think she threw him off by mentioning that he had been sexually active and she hadn't. I
guess
think
so.
She distracted him.
And such a cloud of euphoria just blinded him to everything else.
Yeah, his euphoria over the waterbed that he bought at a yard sale.
That was adorable. Although it did not look so much like a waterbed as a giant water balloon. Yeah. Have you ever slept on a waterbed?
I never have. I don't think I would like it.
In the early 80s or so, I used to house sit for people who had one. And so I slept on it when I was there. And it was nothing like that thing that Veronica was sitting on. It was, it gently moves. It does not so much slosh.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look as overfilled as that thing does. That thing looks like a rental insurance problem waiting to happen. Anyway, yes, that was so cute that he was so enthused about that. So yes, I guess he was writing I'm the best father in the world, and look, I even will donate blood because there's nothing suspicious about my kid wanting a sample of my blood.
Exactly. So, and then, Keith. Then that was pretty much left. There wasn't a whole lot. It was really focused on the, what'd you call it? Simpleton Farms.
Yes.
For most of the episode. And then just at the end, Veronica did get the results from her DNA test. Yeah. And she opted not to find out what they said.
Yeah. That seems, I don't know. I understand her doing it, I guess.
Yeah.
But sticking it someplace, like under your waterbed, might have been more. Because at some point you're going to maybe want to go back to that. And it's going to be hard to get another
blood sample, right? You did go to all that trouble.
So now, do we think Keith's euphoria is such that he will not immediately start splicing together pages of things in the shredder?
Yeah.
They seem to think on Veronica Mars investigations that he would surely do that.
No, I don't necessarily think so. I don't have a good reason for that.
Comes into your bedroom in the middle of the night to shred something which must be shredded immediately. You would not have just a little modicum of curiosity about what it might be, especially if you were a trained investigator.
Okay, yes, I would.
I will be disappointed if he doesn't, honestly. I would like to think that he knows what's going on and he's just kind of waiting to see where it's going to go. And when she finally talks to him about it, he will be. Just like she realized that he knew she had been looking into Lily's murder, even though he hadn't said anything about it. So, come on, Keith. I want you to be, like, kind of aware that this is going on and just biding your time. Because otherwise, man, maybe a different line of work for you.
But it is a nice sentiment by Veronica to be like, what? It is very nice. Matter, so.
Yes. Except, I don't think that's going to settle the matter.
No, I agree that it won't. Because, for one thing, it didn't settle it for the audience.
No. No. The audience wants to go back in the shredder and piece those pieces of paper together. I kind of thought she was going to read it and it was going to say that Keith was her dad. So, I was disappointed at that. But,
well, they're stretching it out a little longer for you.
They are indeed. They got to get a season out of this, I guess.
Exactly.
But it does make things somewhat awkward with Duncan. Although, presumably, the way Duncan dumped her, we're led to believe that he knew about it. But I guess they can't really just sit down at a table there in Neptune lunch patio and have a chat about it.
Yeah, although it's weird that in this episode, she was sort of like flirty with him, like friendly, flirty.
She was. Well, she blew him off the first time.
Yeah.
And then later on, she was like putting the flyer on his car. So it's like, but that's sort of like a little sisterly thing, I guess. I could buy that. Now, at the end, when Casey comes back, all supposedly deprogrammed and jerky again, I thought kind of, and this may be wishful thinking, kind of thought the fact that he said, "Sup, Veronica," instead of just completely blowing her off, meant that maybe a little bit of Mooncalf Casey was still
in there somewhere.
Because if he was a jerk, he wouldn't have said anything to her at all. I don't think they didn't have any friendship before this. Right. So I took that as a tiny ray of hope. He is on one more episode, that character. So, which I know because I was looking up Jonathan Bennett, who played him. Because once they started talking about him on Veronica Mars Investigations and some of the things that he had been in, he was, in fact, on Dancing with the Stars in 2014.
What?
He was with Allison Holker, and he was the fifth one out. That was the episode that Alfonso Ribeiro won. So that was before your time. But at the time, I didn't really know who he was, other than he was in Mean Girls. I think he was the love interest in Mean Girls. Okay. That was how he was introduced on the show, pretty much. A guy you've seen in teen movies.
He was on 2 episodes of Veronica Mars.
So I did not recognize him as such, but once they were talking about him, it was like, was he handsome young actor I've never heard of on Dancing with the Stars one season? Yes, he was.
In fact, yes. All right.
So a tip of the hat to you there, Casey. Apparently you go back to inappropriate things for rich people to be doing soon enough. Right. Although there have been a fair amount of rich people on Dancing with the Stars, so what do I know?
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll just have to see what happens next time with the ongoing questions on Veronica Mars. Next week, we will talk about that upcoming episode of Veronica Mars. It is the 10th one of the first season, and it is called An Echolls Family Christmas. And I'm not sure I want to see how the Echolls family celebrates Christmas.
No.
And Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist will be taking a week off for Zoey's Extraordinary Easter. So we decided we will check in with the newly returned One Day at a Time on PopTV. We had watched it on Netflix when it aired over there, and it has now moved over to this new channel. So we'll talk about the first 3 episodes of that. I don't know if it's called season 3 or season 1 or season, I have no idea. Anyway, the first 3
season extra
from 2020. And that's going to be it for our round 2 today. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes. We have something new for you every weekday. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Goodbye, Terry.
Goodbye, Catherine.
Bye, everyone.